Many pastors worry about overbranding. Are they doing too much or too little? I used to warn my clients about this very thing. I would tell them, don't slap your logo on everything, it'll be overwhelming. But I was completely wrong. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what changed my mind about this and a real world scenario of how you can help your church remember your brand without feeling repetitive or annoying. What I've learned is this: healthy branding is 99% repetition and 1% novelty. And even though that feels counterintuitive, it's how people actually remember things. So many pastors think that repeating themselves over and over again is going to get too branded or too cringy. They think they need to be constantly changing things up and making it fresh. And this is what I thought up until a few years ago. But there's a better approach that gives your church more exposure to your message without the negative side effects of sounding like a broken record. Here's the thing: what feels repetitive to you feels reliable to them. Your job is just to say it and show it until it sinks in. Because creative and meaningful repetition doesn't annoy people, it shapes them. I changed my perspective on this after seeing some research around how poorly people actually remembered major brands. And I saw this pattern confirmed in the churches I was working with to help them rebrand. The branding and the messaging just wasn't sinking in as quickly as we had hoped. So in this video, I'm going to show you the research that changed my mind and teach you the principle behind healthy repetition, the kind that helps you build a memorable brand that's gospel-centered and actually sticks. So what's wrong with constantly changing up your branding or sprinkling it in rather than really hammering it home? If you've ever thought, maybe I should switch things up because you're tired of it without talking to somebody else, then you're probably guilty of this. The reality is that you'll be dead tired of your logo, your core values, your mission statement before anybody else can remember or recite them. Here's why that happens. People just aren't thinking about your church all week. They're busy, distracted, and pulled in every direction. I'm sure that you probably feel that way too a lot of times. And so if you're not repeating your message and your branding with clarity, consistency, and patience, your branding kind of fades into the noise. You've worked hard on it, but people just don't remember it. People can't articulate what your church is about. And ultimately, a lot of the time and effort you're putting into that communication week in and week out gets wasted. And here's the principle behind that kind of healthy repetition that works its way into people's hearts and minds, is to say the same thing in different ways over time. That's it. Not louder, not flashier, just steadier. When you do this well, people actually start to remember your message, and they'll even start repeating your own language back at you. They'll start to enjoy wearing your logo around town, and visitors start to understand your mission faster. But ultimately, these are all symptoms of your brand supporting discipleship instead of distracting from it. And that's what healthy repetition can do. So this is the piece of research that actually changed my mind about overbranding. They had 150 people try to draw logos from memory, and the results were kind of shocking. 1 in 3 people added a stem to the Apple logo. It doesn't have one. Almost half of the people that drew these logos from memory forgot the crown on the Starbucks mermaid, and 55% forgot the mermaid's twin tails. If people can't remember the Apple logo, your church probably doesn't need to worry about overbranding. And here's the thing: your church has way more opportunities than you realize to use your branding and reinforce your message. So let me show you what this looks like in real life. A couple of years ago, I worked on a rebrand with Heritage Church in Oklahoma, and this is still one of my favorite rebrands to this day. Heritage was replanting, merging 2 congregations together. And so they needed to completely overhaul the visual identity and the look. Their church leaders had done a bunch of work to cast a vision for the congregation as one unified body. And it was really cool to see the foundation that they had laid of the mission and vision, the identity that they had uncovered that made their church who they were. And some of their core values were actually what we built the whole visual identity around. Their 5 core values were theological education, equipping the saints, advancing the gospel, ministering to the vulnerable, and seeking the welfare of the city. And those 5 core values, we turned into a system that was going to be flexible enough to repeat over and over again for years. So here are some of the real ways they can and are using that system to repeat the same message in different ways over time. Here's one of the ways that Heritage could maximize repetition of their brand in order to reinforce the mission of their church. Once a month, they could pick one of the 5 core values and highlight it during their church announcements. They could have a logo and some visuals up on the screen, and then explain why equipping the saints matters. Then they could even tie it into a ministry opportunity coming up in the life of their church. Clip that section of the live stream and maybe turn it into a social media clip or a discussion starter for small groups that meet throughout the week. And as a bonus, if there's an animated version of their logo, they could even use that on those clips as a visual branding opportunity. The second way that Heritage can maximize healthy repetition of their brand is with print. Print merchandise is a great way to give people something that will travel with them throughout their daily lives and remind them of the mission of their local church and the identity and collective purpose that they share with the body. So this could look like printing the core value icons of Heritage on a coffee cup, or even a wristband that people wear throughout the week, and it reminds them of those core values, but also could lead to evangelism opportunities. Again, everything has the logo on it somewhere, even if it's small, so that it has that flagship mark that ties everything together. So a third way that Heritage can maximize that healthy repetition is online. Put the logo at the top of the website. They could have a section dedicated to their core values lower down on the homepage that people can click into and learn more. This website section could also utilize their core value icons and colors. And then, of course, social media is a great opportunity for Heritage and your church to sprinkle in vision-related posts throughout the year. For example, they could say, hey guys, here's why we're expanding our church library, because theological education matters, and here's how you can help. Or, here's how you can minister to the vulnerable in our city this month. Sign up at your local soup kitchen on any of these dates. So hopefully you can see now how having a wide spectrum of touch points not only helps you introduce your brand, but also reinforce it. Not in an annoying way, it's not high-throw noise, just gentle, consistent repetition. There are a million creative ways to say the same thing. It just takes time and consistency. But with perseverance, patience, and clarity over and over again, all of that branding effort is going to be put to good use, and you'll have a brand that sticks. So if there's one thing you take away from this video, let it be this. Building these things into the life of your church, this brand repetition, it's not robotic redundancy, it's rhythm. Your people are going to have chances to get involved, to evangelize, to participate in the life of your church. When they have that choice, they're either going to go all in or stand on the sidelines. And when you give them that gospel clarity through patient, persistent branding, they might just have the momentum to go all in, to step outside of their comfort zone and into the mission. So if that reminds you of your church and you're interested in learning more about how to build these patterns of healthy repetition into your church's communication, how to stop watering down your message, and how to build a brand that actually serves discipleship, just click the link in the description. You'll go to a page where you can learn more about my full branding process. I'll see you there.